For general information purposes. All legal cases are different, and you should seek the advice of your own attorney before acting or making decisions. No attorney-client privilege applies to communications on this show, and no attorney-client relationship is created by calling or writing in. Attorney Rominger practices only in Pennsylvania and maintains his primary office in Carlisle, Pennsylvania.
Hey, good afternoon. Carl Rominger here. 540-0580 is the talk line number. You have a legal question, want to talk about the law, call in. 540-0580. Let's take our first call here. Dan, what's going on?
Hey, Carl. In light of this new immigration bill that's floating around, I have some questions. Early on, they compared our immigration laws to those of Mexico, and I think theirs were quite more restrictive, to the point where I don't think a non-citizen almost couldn't even own property in Mexico. So my question is, if the immigrants from Mexico come here and they want to take advantage of this new immigration law and become citizens of the United States, it was my understanding that you renounce your citizenship in that other country. So will they love this bill if they find out that when they go back to Mexico, they can't own property there and they'll live under the laws of as an alien? Well, I'm wondering, does our country observe dual citizenship?
We do have a lot of dual citizens, and there's lots of reasons for that. Because I know we don't actually force you to always renounce your prior citizenship, or other countries just won't recognize the renouncement. They understand that it's a technical requirement. Reminds me of, I don't know if you remember this or not, but Malaysia had signed on the original Gulf War, not the second Gulf War, but the first Gulf War. Mm-hmm. And in order to get them to sign on as a Muslim country, we forgave them $1 billion in debt. Okay? And the president, or the king of Malaysia, basically did a televised address to the nation where he said, listen, we don't really mean it, but the U.S. wants us to say that we're okay with the war and they're going to forgive $1 billion. We'd be idiots not to take it. So I always think about that when I think about, some countries just don't recognize the renouncement. So Mexico could say, yeah, we understand that U.S. requires you to renounce your citizenship, but we're not going to reciprocate. We're going to allow you to continue to pretend you're a Mexican citizen and have dual citizenship.
So in other words, we'll forgive them breaking the law, and we'll also forgive them the restrictions that we have with other countries to renounce your citizens to become a citizen. So
yeah, why not?
So basically, what they're saying is they'll be half citizens, and we're doing this because we want them to come out of the shadows and become full citizens of the United States, when really, in truth, they probably will only become half citizens. And the reason I say that's not a racist thing, but we understand that a large portion of the Mexican economy is people that work here illegally and send money back to Mexico. And I've been told by reports that, at some point, the Mexican people that live here illegally and work here and amass, what would be considered a fortune in Mexico, go back to Mexico and retire, and in some cases collect Social Security in Mexico from the United States government. That they, this is something that they want to do and continue to do. Yeah. But if they're not citizens of Mexico, the Mexican laws say that.
Well, no. Stop. The Mexican law can say whatever the Mexicans want it to say, and they can change it at any time. So let's not worry too much about what it says or doesn't say. And the other thing is, with immigration, it's not such a clear-cut, bright-line thing. This country, and I'm just fascinated by it, has vacillated on immigration over the years, back and forth. So I'm sure that, if this was the right era, you would be opposed to the Italians coming over for all the same reasons were given then. And then when it was the Irish, all the same reasons were given then. And then we had problems with the Chinese at one time. We had to keep all them out for all the same reasons. And let me explain to you the history of immigration in America in a nutshell. When the economy's tight and workforce is not needing labor, we are anti-immigration. And when the economy's humming along and we need labor, our government magically becomes very open to immigration, legal or illegal. And
that's not fair, Carl.
It's not fair to say, but it's the history of the world.
No, it's not. It's not fair to say that I'm opposed to immigration. I'm opposed to illegal immigration. Well, my grandparents came here on a boat. They needed a sponsor, and the sponsor was to provide for them in the event that they couldn't provide for
Oh,
themselves.
please. We know that whole thing with sponsors. There was all kinds of fake stuff going on with there, all kinds of people sponsoring 1 million immigrants, all signed up by large corporate interests. Listen, it's all been the same the whole time. And the only reason there's so many illegal immigrants in the United States is because our government allows it. Ronald Reagan allowed it. George Bush Sr. allowed it. Jr. allowed it. Clinton allowed it. Everybody's allowed it because the economy was humming and big industry needed labor.
So okay, if that's the case, and they're here illegally, and everyone looks the other way, why do we need to make them legal citizens when they're not even going to be legal citizens? They're going to be half citizens.
Wow, they're not going to be half citizens.
They're going to be citizens.
Are you saying that any citizen who has a dual citizenship is only a half citizen? Is that your statement? Is that your statement?
They split their allegiances.
Is that your statement? Any citizen here is that your statement? Any citizen here in America who has dual citizenship is less of an American. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying their allegiances are not.
Are you saying they're less of an American? I just want to know because there's a lot of people, a lot of old Germans, a lot of old people from all over the place.
Please don't put words in my mouth.
Okay, so so you have no problem with dual citizenship. You have no problem with dual citizenship. You do have a problem with dual citizens, or you don't. One or the other. Pick it.
I do have a problem with dual citizenship.
Okay, so all the people who came over here over the last 50, 100 years who have dual citizenship are all lesser Americans in your mind?
I think the whole.
Or is it just because they're Mexican and have dual citizenship that they're lesser in your mind?
No, it's not just Mexican.
Okay, so it's any race, any nationality that holds a dual citizenship.
I do believe that you renounce your citizenship to another country.
Okay, so you have a problem with anybody with dual citizenship and they're less of an American.
I do.
Okay, good. Okay, I hope all the people out there with dual citizenship who've been here for all the years working in the Army and doing all those things will call in and educate you a little bit about the idea that having dual citizenship doesn't make you less patriotic.
I was in the service with people that went through the system. One guy in particular, I remember, was a Canadian. He wanted to become a United States citizen. He joined the Marine Corps, served 4 years in the Marine Corps, and then became an American citizen. I don't have a problem with that.
Well, you have a problem with him keeping his dual citizenship if the U.S. allows it?
He didn't have dual citizenship.
Well, he did. I'm talking about everybody out there with dual citizenship. I got your point. You don't like people with dual citizenship.
I don't think you should split your allegiances when really, in effect, if you're planning on working here a certain period of time and then going home and retiring in another country and sending all that, like, for example, the Social Security to that country to retire there, your allegiances aren't to the United States of America.
So how about all the people who retired to Mexico but keep their U.S. citizenship and take all that money out of America and put it into the Mexican economy now but are full U.S. citizens? Are they traitors?
Exactly my point.
Are they traitors?
If they go back to Mexico...
No, not back to Mexico. Stop. I'm asking you a question. If a American citizen who's never been to Mexico, has no Mexican history, or an American citizen goes to any other country but the U.S. to retire, they're going to take their Social Security payments with them. Mm-hmm. Does that make them a traitor or somehow less American to do that? Does that somehow un-American to move out of the country and continue to take your benefits?
Carl, now I'm going to answer your question.
The answer is...
So please indulge me.
Indulge me. I'm only talking about a person who didn't come here from another country. They were born here, raised here, and when they got to 65, they moved to Mexico.
Please indulge me to answer.
Indulge me. Answer my question, though. Don't make up the question.
If you leave the country for a certain period of time, when you come back, you have to reaffirm your citizenship. Okay,
but what does that have to do with the question of you're complaining that somebody might come here and become a citizen, then retire back to the country they came from? I'm saying, how is that different than just retiring from the country to Guatemala or Costa Rica like a lot of American citizens are doing who were born in America, by the way? What's wrong with that? Is there a problem with that?
Is there a problem with them leaving here and going to another country?
To retire.
I understand they're advertising Belize right now.
Yeah, to retire.
And if
my Social Security goes farther down there, I can hire a maid.
If their allegiance becomes to, say they move to Belize.
No, they're going to just move there and live there until they die, but they're planning to keep their benefits. I don't care about their allegiance, but as long as they haven't put an American flag up and saluted every morning, you're fine with it, right?
They were, Carl, they were American citizens. In your analogy, they were American citizens.
Yeah, they are American citizens. That's my question. As long as they have a flag and they salute it, you're fine with it because they're affirming their allegiance every morning.
No, Carl, you're flipping my
I'm not
words.
flipping it. I got to go to break. Shane, do we have a new show starting tomorrow? My Trim Line or something here on WHP? You know about that? You don't know about that?
You call me right in the middle of eating.
Oh, good.
But no, yes, it's on at noon tomorrow. Starts at noon. First show is Trim Line, how to stay fit, how to stay healthy, all the good stuff you ever need to know.
It's one of these. I have a friend who has a dog who has a trainer, and the trainer's niece, I think, is hosting the show or something like that. So that's why I bring it up.
Her name's Nadia.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So tomorrow at noon, and I'm going to tune in. Maybe I'll call in and hassle her. Andy, you're on WHP 580. I'm going to answer a legal question instead of debating the finer points of immigration. What's going on? Hey, Andy.
Yeah, yes. Carl.
Yep.
I have a question on liability for our hunting club.
Okay.
We're incorporated. This is Northern Pennsylvania. We're incorporated as a nonprofit Pennsylvania hunting club.
Okay.
My question is, in general, we have guests up there hunting, but more specifically, periodically we have fundraisers. So let's say we have a horseshoe tournament for a certain fee, and food and beers provided by the camp.
Right.
What is our liability under those circumstances?
Well, social guests. So I'll give you an example. And I think anytime an entity, profit or not for profit, serves alcohol, there's potential liability. Okay.
Right.
If you're just over at my house, I can actually serve you 15 beers. You can wreck your car, kill 3 people, and I'm not liable. Okay. But if I invite you next Saturday at 4 p.m. to come meet me at Harrisburg Beer and Cigar for my little lecture I'm doing on gun rights and whatnot, and it's deemed to be a quasi-business function, then I can't serve you liquor to the point of intoxication while you're visibly intoxicated, I should say. I can't serve you as a visibly intoxicated individual and escape liability, okay?
Right.
We don't have strict liability for alcohol, though. So if you're just like somebody who drinks very carefully and I can't tell that you're drunk, then I wouldn't have liability, business or otherwise. And if you're underage, there's always liability. So, yeah, your camp has potential liability. So you need to either get dram shop insurance or get some kind of rider that would cover those kinds of events or not serve alcohol.
Now, if you don't serve it yourself, but it's available, does that make a difference?
Yeah, because you're making it available. And it's even worse when you're not serving it yourself because since you're not supposed to let visibly intoxicated people get a hold of the alcohol,
right?
If there's no barrier to it, then the thing would be, hey, there's 8 fall-down drunk guys hanging around the keg all day, and then one of them went out and ran somebody over or killed himself, and then his wife sues you.
Then there's a situation of bring your own.
Yeah, BYOB.
Right.
That's a little different because you didn't supply the alcohol. So I would think in a BYOB situation, you're okay. Although once somebody becomes visibly intoxicated, I think you might have to disinvite them and also make sure they have a ride. You know, the way this is usually done for businesses is you get a caterer and have them handle the alcohol, or you end up carrying some insurance that will cover it, or you basically hope that everybody you're going to have up there behaves themselves. And, of course, that's how the legal fights start because typical example is guy goes to his buddy's house, has a couple beers, comes up for the horseshoe tournament, drinks some more, leaves the camp, stops at the Mangy Moose, has a few more drinks, then he has his accident. You know, and then the fight's going to be, was he visibly intoxicated when you served him? Was he visibly intoxicated when the Mangy Moose served him? Et cetera, et cetera.
Right, I see that. How about the guests for hunting in general without the alcohol?
Well, any landowner has a duty to protect their guests from known dangers. Okay, and it's supposed to be an act of negligence on your behalf for somebody to get hurt. So there's no liability for just letting somebody walk around the land. But do you guys have them sign a waiver?
No, we don't, but that would be a consideration.
Yeah, you should have every guest sign a liability waiver, making it clear that they're aware of that hunting is a strenuous activity across uneven and dangerous ground, that there's a risk of stray bullet, whatever you want to put in there, that basically encompasses hunting, and that way you have a first line of defense.
Okay, that sounds reasonable. All right, thank you, Carl.
All right, my man, take care.
Yeah.
540-0580. Lewis, what's going on?
I have a question about the Jodi Arias trial. My wife's face has been buried in it since it started, and they just finished closing arguments yesterday, I heard.
Yeah.
My question is with HLN, Headline News Network, ripping on her 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and the Internet and social media, and with the jury instructions about not to view anything outside of the courtroom, how is it possible that they can't and she can't get a fair decision?
Well, I mean, I was involved in a big high-profile trial like that myself, and you wonder, can the jurors really be completely isolated from it? On the other hand, you hope that people will rise to the occasion. Hopefully they haven't been watching headline news all this time, and hopefully the jurors haven't been doing what they're not supposed to do, which is take his information from all over. So you're right, though. There's always a question of where could you get a fair trial, and how can you get a fair trial? On the other hand, a lot of times jurors quickly realize that what they're hearing in the courtroom is much different than what they're reading in the newspaper. And so at the beginning of the Sandusky trial, Judge Cleland held up a newspaper article for the jurors and said, this is a newspaper article covering a case. And it was the only thing that appeared in the newspaper about that particular case. And then he held up a 200-page transcript and said, now this is everything that the jury heard that resulted in this newspaper article. And as you can imagine, the newspaper article doesn't begin to tell you, 200 pages of information. Therefore, don't read the newspaper, don't count on the newspaper, and don't look at the media reports because they're encapsulations based on one reporter's view of what they thought they heard or thought they saw, and they weren't in the courtroom the entire time, versus this 200 pages. And I thought that was a really good example. And a lot of times jurors figure that out pretty quick. But you're right. It's tough to get a fair trial when the news is all over it. All right?
Okay. Thanks, Carl.
540-0580. Jay, you're on the air.
Yeah, hi, Carl. I may have to call Nadia tomorrow myself. I've an issue with her. But give her a hard time. I got the feeling you knew the first caller, or at least I've dealt with him before. I don't know. I can't state my opinion any better than you stated yours. I just noticed he didn't worry about people coming in from Canada either. Anyway, here's a question. I heard something where, and I don't remember which state, maybe it was New York. Some state was trying to pass a bill where, and I'm an anti-smoker, ex-smoker, but you couldn't smoke. They were going to push the smoking age to 21.
Right.
And I think I've mentioned this before. I know there's nothing in the Constitution or the state. I know places that charge you more if you're under 25 to rent a car, if they'll rent it all to you. Isn't there a point where you're an adult, or isn't, we don't talk about taking people's driver's license. Well, we do talk about it when they're too old.
Right.
That's sacred, but I don't quite understand. It seems to me that it should be one age of, I guess, but has any lawsuit ever been brought where somebody said, hey, I'm fully emancipated, I'm able to vote, the Constitution says, and I'm an adult legally, and how can you stop me from doing something?
But that goes all the way back to one of my favorite ones, which is currently in the United States of America, if you're male, not female, you must register for the Selective Service. You can be drafted, sent to another country, shot at, but if you have a beer, Pennsylvania will take your driver's license for 6 months and fine you up to $300.
And what do the politicians that make the laws and their staffs that write the laws say when they're questioned about something like that?
Well, they would say we have to have a drinking age, and 21's a good drinking age.
Well, why don't they just say 20? You can't go to war until you're 21.
Right. Well, why don't they? And the answer is,
I don't know. We don't put their feet to the fire for stuff like that.
Well, but here's the reason. There's a million logical inconsistencies everywhere.
Right.
And so you have all these things like, so we can't let a cancer patient who's 100% terminal have an experimental drug outside of a trial. Can't do it. It's the law. In the meantime, I'm entitled to go and participate in the X Games as a perfectly healthy guy and jump my snowmobile until it crashes and I die. because that's my right.
Yeah, well, I don't quite understand. The one I don't understand, of course, is I don't have to wear a helmet when I'm on a motorcycle, but I got to wear a seatbelt when I'm in a car. And then
the lobby for the motorcyclists was better.
I was in the hospital. I've had a lot of medical issues, and what I'm pointing out is, of course, HIPAA and everything else. That I always tell my doctors, I think the legal profession or the insurance profession, and the people that sue, have you guys under their thumb. And I kind of often wonder. I understand the lawyers like to litigate, or at least that's their bread and butter. But I just wish the law profession would say, let's make it simpler.
Right.
I know that's. I might as well just go light up a cigar.
Well, next, and I know this combines cigars and guns, so you'll love it. Next Saturday, I'm doing a little talk on gun laws at 4 p.m. at Harrisburg Beer and Cigar, and you're invited to come down and smoke one with us.
I'd love to. We're going to be in New York City. I still owe some responses on Facebook to some folks. All right, Carl.
All right, my friend. Take care.
Bye.
540-0580, Carl Rominger here answering your questions. Yeah, seriously, I'm going to listen to my trim line tomorrow. My friend Vanessa is friends with Nadia. That's how I got the heads up on it. And I thought, it seems interesting. Seems the kind of thing I'd listen to. Of course, Sunday at noon, I will be out of bed. I promise. I have my son this weekend, so of course I will be out of bed. I've cooked pancakes and bacon. I'll probably post a picture of bacon on Facebook because every time I cook bacon, I like to post a picture of it for some reason. And it's funny. You can you can post a picture of a cute kid and you get 10 likes. You can post a picture of, some weird thing, get 20 likes and 5 comments. But you post a picture of bacon and you get like 75 likes. I think that tells us something about bacon. There's a Michigan Supreme Court justice who's retired who just came out with a book on the inside workings of the court, basically pointing out that her colleagues were a bunch of partisan political hacks and that they were, offering to trade votes on things and that there was a lot of politics in there and that they hated Jeffrey Feiger, which it doesn't surprise me. Jeffrey Feiger is a very, very famous and very, very good attorney. He's also, according to some other attorneys I know, even more abrasive than me. So, as a result, that might be a good book to check out if you want to hear how the Michigan Supreme Court worked by an actual justice giving us an inside view. She basically says money corrupts it, politics corrupts it, and she's got a whole plan. I'd be curious to know, and I don't think we'll ever know, how does the Michigan Supreme Court, after we read about it in this book, compare to our own or any other states? I have my theories on that. 540-0580, see you after the break. Thank you for that, Shane. I know something I didn't know before. Who's got an owl for a mascot?
Turner Kia.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Olivia.
Hello?
How are you?
I'm blessed, sir.
Good. God bless
I'm having
you.
a problem with a school loan, and they're taking money out of my Social Security.
Okay.
I have called all the different phone numbers that I've been given. I still get no response to what my question is. They started taking money out April 1st, 13. Since, they started taking money out. Oh, shucks. See, that's why I have to get in to talk to you. They started taking money out of my Social Security November the 6th.
So this student, is it for a student loan or a school loan?
A student loan.
Is it a loan that you took out?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And it was 1985 that I signed for the loan. However, I never finished it. But I got a letter November 6, 2008 from Social Security, and
right.
They said important information. Miss Burdell's check is being reduced by $31 for a delinquent school loan every month. It started 3/1/08. What I can't understand if they've been taking money out all that time.
Right.
But this is 13. They should have that paid off by now, shouldn't it? Could I don't want to hold you up because I know you have more important things.
Well,
could I make an appointment?
Yeah. Yeah, our office number is 241
Yeah, I know.
6070.
I talked to your lady, your secretary on Friday, so I'll call back Monday.
All right, we'll see you then.
All right, thank you.
540-0580. Pat, you're on the air. Hey, Pat.
Hi, Carl.
Yep.
Listen, I want to suit. I have a rental property, and I evicted people, and they owe me several $1,000s in rent. What do I have to do to be able to garnish their wages?
You have to file a garnishment, which is basically sort of like a sheriff's action, just like a levy.
Okay.
So you file like you're going through the sheriff, and you ask the sheriff to garner their wages, and then eventually the employer then has to take some of the money out and hand it over to you.
Okay.
And it's not a terribly lengthy process. We do those. In fact, we've got 2 of them in the works that I know of right now.
Okay. Okay.
All right?
Thank you very much.
All right, Pat. Good luck.
Bye.
And so for a lot of you that don't know this or may know this or may not want to know this, I don't know, landlords and tenant law, when you sue a tenant and you get a judgment, that's the only kind of judgment in Pennsylvania that you can garnish somebody's wages. Now, of course, right before that, we had somebody call in and she was on Social Security and she's getting garnished over a student loan, which is probably a federal guarantee issue. You can't take people's Social Security generally. So if you do rent to somebody who's on Social Security and you get a judgment against them, we can't garnish any portion of their bank account or their money that comes from Social Security, but we can garnish any other wages that they have or bank accounts of savings that they have. But that garnishment of wages is very powerful for landlords and tenants, so that's something to keep in the back of your head. 540-0580. The Iowa Supreme Court, I think it was Iowa, just had a issue with how do you handle, or who do you put on the birth certificate when you have a same-sex marriage between 2 women and there's who do you put down as the father? Because the law in their state required that they designate a father, and the hospital or somebody didn't want to do it or didn't know, said that, well, there is no father because there's just two mothers. And so the court issued a decision saying that, no, you're going to put the other spouse on there in a same-sex marriage. And Iowa has not rewritten their laws because their same-sex marriage was created by judicial ruling. They still have a lot of gender words in their law. So they now say the same case will come up again if they have 2 men because the case only answers how to fill in the one half, not the other. Kind of interesting. 540-0580. Get ready for all kinds of litigation on same-sex marriage after the Supreme Court is done this term. Chris, you're on WHP 580 with Carl Rominger. You want to talk about a DUI?
A portion of, how do I want to say? One of the restrictions is you can't have firearms, and I'm like, what does one have to do with the other? I got a response from another attorney, and he told me it's because if a PO or whatever comes to check you out, I guess they're afraid that you might turn on them or something. And I'm thinking, is this a political motivated thing? Because anything can be a weapon.
Well, probation officers and standard terms of probation for many, many moons have included living in a house with no deadly weapons in it. And you're right, you can use a knife, a baseball bat, etc. But for the most part, it's been a standard term of probation. Now, I had a guy on DUI probation who wanted to bow hunt, and I got the judge to order that he could go bow hunting and that he could keep his bow at his brother's house and he could target shoot at his brother's house as an exception to the general rules of probation.
I see. What if you have a concealed carry permit? I guess that... Well,
it's interesting because most of the time when you're on probation, the sheriffs these days will pull your concealed carry permit.
Uh-huh.
And then you can get it back after, as long as you're no longer prohibited.
I see.
Yeah. And by the way, a second offense DUI, where you're the highest rate of alcohol, 0.16 or greater...
Yes.
Will ban you from owning firearms for life.
Oh.
So,
even though one has nothing to do with the other, they can still do that.
Well, the ban for life happens because a second offense DUI of the highest rate is a misdemeanor of the first degree, which disables you under federal law for life.
Huh. Yeah,
so,
I just could not. I can't put it together where You know, I can understand why they take your driver's license if you were DUI, but when the weapons issue comes in, that to me that just seems to be a politically motivated.
Well, it originally doesn't come from politics. It originally comes from probation officers just not wanting to have to deal with guns in the house when they come to search you. So by prohibiting you from staying in a house with guns, which comes up quite frequently when you got spouses or brothers or sisters in the same house, so there's no political motivation to that one. Now, how about this? Why is it that a guy with a second offense DUI, let's say you get one at 21 and one at 24, why can't you own guns at 57? That's politically motivated because there should be no reason to sunset somebody's gun rights forever. Based on minor misdemeanors or based on conduct that happened a long, long time ago. And Pennsylvania has no way to restore your gun rights for purposes of a federal disability. Other states do. This state is very unfair that way, and our legislature needs to address it.
And when did that go? When did that first take effect?
Well, that's the Gun Control Act of like 1968 that keeps people with misdemeanors from having firearms if they carried more than 2 years. But Pennsylvania made a second offense DUI highest tier, a misdemeanor 1 in 2004.
Okay. Oh, very interesting.
All right, boss.
Okay, thank you, sir.
No problem. Why don't you come out next Saturday? We're going to smoke cigars and talk about gun law at Harrisburg Beer and Cigar over on Progress. Or what is that? Paxton. Wait, Union Deposit. Union Deposit.
That sounds good. I just might take you up on that.
Yeah, we're going to... Now, I'm not providing the cigars for free. You got to go in there and buy your own cigar. But if you want to know what kind I like, I'll tell you. But we're going to just basically do an informal hour where I'm going to, give a little kickoff and then just do a question and answer session so we can try to figure some stuff out. And it'll be pretty interesting. We'll talk about the Castle Doctrine. We'll talk about the Second Amendment. We'll talk about what's going on with everything. And then we'll just smoke some cigars.
Okay.
All right, man. 540-0580. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. Carl Rominger here. 540-0580. Okay, what do I want to do? First of all, I do want to thank Harrisburg Beer and Cigar, the official sponsor here of the show these days. I drank a couple Albion ales, which is a special edition by Sam Adams that they gave me this month. And also they gave me some Dirty Bastard by Founders. Good stuff as well. That's a Scottish ale, so that tends to the play. Kind of reminds me of Mike Myers. Anyhow, also a great place to get cigars. And, of course, we're going to be there next Saturday at 4 o'clock. I'm going to go over there. It's 3842 Union Deposit Road, Harrisburg. Stop in there and tell them in the meantime that I sent you. But we're going to have a little gun law lecture there. And then on May 9th, which is a little before that, I'm going to be down in Franklin County at the 912 Patriots at Chambersburg talking about gun law as well. That's open to the public. It's at 158 West King Street, Chambersburg, PA. And on the 18th from 9 a.m. until probably about the beginning of the show, I'm going to be at the Lancaster County Women's Exposition. So I'll see you there as well, I guess. All right, 540-0580. Dwayne. What's up, Dwayne?
Yes. We're trying to help a kid get his license. He's trying to straighten out his life. He has repeated driver's violations. So we went to PennDOT, and they said if you do 5 things, you can have him in September. We said, okay. But what can we do so he can go to work in the meantime? They said, go to your state rep, and you can get a work permit. So we did that. And the state rep said he has too many repeated violations. He doesn't qualify.
Okay.
Is there any other way he can get licensed so he can go to work, just to work and back? Is there any other way that can happen?
That's it. If PennDOT won't do it, that's your last resort.
Okay. I didn't know. Yeah, I mean, the kid has 3 months. He has to go to work. He has to make a living.
I know. And that's a problem. This is a very common problem. In fact, one of the prosecutors I know who's instrumental in drug court in one of the counties has told me that the district attorneys have actually toyed around in their head with some idea of allowing people who are in treatment court to have a way to get a license, because what happens is a lot of people lose their licenses over drug-related issues, and then they catch driving under suspensions, et cetera, et cetera. Now they don't have licenses. So now they're in treatment court, and they want the person to go to, this counselor this weekend. They want the person to go on Wednesday nights to this. They want to make 5 AA meetings a week, and they can't drive. So it's an impediment to recovery. It's an impediment to getting back on your feet. And I know that some Yahoo out there is like, well, if they did the crime, they got to be punished, and they got to just eat the punishment, and that's the way it is. The reality is the penal system and the justice system have come to realize that they're not necessarily straight-line questions. Just yanking driver's licenses repeatedly doesn't necessarily help you reform the individual later when they are ready to make a meaningful change. And that's the trap you're caught in right now.
Right.
I guess that's the best answer I got.
Okay, well, thanks a lot.
All right, D. Wayne. Talk to you later. 540-0580. That's his rapper name, D. Wayne. Coy.
Hey, Carl, quick question.
Yeah.
A friend of mine got nailed with 2 ounces of weed and baggies and scales.
Okay.
Plus, he was smoking in the car himself. That's what the state police pulled him over. He wants to go with a public defender, and I'm trying to really desperately not to do that. Would a public defender typically plea it out?
All right, well, let's talk about this for a minute. First of all, it doesn't sound like the crime of the century, but are they trying to charge him with a DUI for smoking in the car?
Yeah, DUI, possession with intent. I'm trying to think what else.
Oh, they get with possession with intent. They're trying to get with possession with intent to distribute.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that's more serious. But here's the deal. How do we talk about public defenders? Okay, if I'm in a county like Cumberland or Dauphin or Lancaster, big counties around the area, as a general rule, the public defenders are very professional. They are very competent, and they're well funded. So it's not a huge deal to have a public defender. I'm not going to name the county, but we once went up to another county, a little county somewhere around in the broadcast range here, where we discovered a guy who had been in jail for over a year without ever having any kind of hearing whatsoever. And when I queried his public defender about it, he said, I don't know.
And this is down here in York. So.
Yeah. And I was just going to say, so in the bigger counties, but the flip side is, if you come hire me sometimes, some people would say, they'll come to me and they'll say, Carl, I'm going to hire you. I don't want to hire your associate. I don't want to hire this other guy in your office. And I only want you working on my case for, because I want to pay a premium because I want you. Well, when you go to the public defender's office, they might have 22 attorneys, and you might get, the 22nd on the pecking order in terms of skill level as well. Mm-hmm. So you have a little less control over that. So, the choice between a private attorney and a public attorney is this. A private attorney who does a lot of criminal work is as good as a public defender. Are they better? The answer is quite often not, but they aren't as overworked.
That's what I thought. That's what I'm trying to tell this kid.
And that sometimes makes a difference. On the other hand, public defenders, because they are so heavily engaged in criminal law all the time, sometimes are a little bit sharper when it comes to identifying the latest and greatest new issues. So if it makes sense, I think a skilled public defender or a skilled private criminal defense attorney are both more than adequate, but only you can be sure which criminal defense attorney you're going to get if you go private counsel. If it's public defender, you get who they assign you, and if they assign you the new guy, or they assign you the guy that they've been contemplating firing for the last 3 months, that's still who you've been assigned to.
Exactly.
All right.
You're screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
okay,
boss.
I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks, man. 540-0580. Carl Rominger here answering your legal questions. Tina, you're on the air.
Yes, Carl. I'd like to know if you make an overpayment or you have an overpayment, a credit with domestic relations, is there any way to get that money back other than filing a modification, reducing your child support, and never giving you your money back?
Yeah. Well, it depends. These credits theoretically. So somebody's overpaid, right?
Yes. They pulled my income tax, my state, and they also had me pay. By the time they finished with all the sources that they used, they actually ended up with a credit of like $730. Instead of giving my money back, they said, no, we're going to do a reduction. We're putting in for a deviation.
Right. And that's what they'll do is they'll reduce it a little bit, and then that'll get eaten up over time.
Right. Right, but there's no way to just get your money back from them.
No, because they don't have your money. They gave it to the other guy, right? I see this all the time, and it's crazy. And then here's one worse. Imagine that the overpayment occurs, 3 months before the kid's 18th birthday.
Right.
And then you're like, well, great, you modify it down. And they're like, yeah, but by the time we get to the modification, our system's still going to keep drawing the money until, whenever. So it can be a problem. And I feel bad for you because I'm sure you were saying to them, like, why are you making me pay this now? You're going to collect all this, and now we're going to be over. And then how much longer do you have to pay support?
Well, by the time that they finish, we're now up to like $1,000 over.
Right. And how many more years do you have to pay support for?
Oh, I have another 10 years.
Gotcha. So they'll take $10 off a year, $100 off. Take $100 off a year.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay. I just wanted to know.
Yeah, I think you're stuck.
All right.
Unless the other person's nice enough to return it to you and then get a direct credit.
Exactly.
Good luck.
All right. Thank you.
540-0580. Carl Rominger here. You know that there's a lot of love lost there. Steve, you're on WHP 580.
Hi, Carl. How you doing today?
Good.
Hey, this is a question regarding debt collection. How
Yes.
familiar are you with that practice?
Well, we do some.
This is in regards to an alleged medical debt. If a medical personal or a medical business attempts to collect a debt, but they don't, they claim they hire an outside law firm.
Oh, you're going to have to hold till after the break here, boss.
All right.
540-0580. Carl Rominger filling in for himself here today, not Bob Durgan. And what I'm going to do is come back in the next hour and answer another full hour's legal questions, including poor Steve here, who just got shelved. Sort of like when the judge calls the recess, when the district attorney says your case is next. Hate when that happens. Meantime, go to RomingerLaw.com to figure out what you need to do if you want to hire us.